Well, hey there, guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, as promised, we're making some toy wheels. Now, I have shown you guys here on the show how to make different scale model wheels, things like highway wheels, Jeep tires, that sort of thing. And today it's kind of going to be along the same lines, except on a much smaller scale, which changes up things just a little. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a set of wheels for both the ambulance toy and the garbage truck toy and improve those plain, flat, walnut discs that were originally slated for these toys. So let's head over to the bench and get this project started. Well, I have here the stock that I've cut for our wheels. Now we have walnut for the rubber, and in this case, we're going to do a little bit of extra and put some rims in here. And I've chosen poplar for the rims, just because that's what I had in the rack. Now for these larger wheels, being 2 inches in diameter, I have chosen for the hubs or the rims, I have chosen a 5/16 inch thick stock instead of the 1/4 inch that the plan calls for the wheels. But for the ambulance toy, they're 1/4 inch all around. These are a smaller scale wheel, so you don't need thicker stock. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the process here on the larger 2-inch wheels, and that process will pretty much be repeated for the ambulance tires. So there's no need to film that twice. So the first thing that we need to do is a little bit of layout. Now I have ensured to cut all of my blanks, whether it be for the rims or for the tires, all the same size. And the reason for that is because we're going to be using a fence setup to do our drilling. So we really only need to mark one blank, and then we can set up our fence and all the rest will be the same. So basically on one of our walnut blanks, these blanks are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 to allow us some give to make a 2-inch wheel. We're going to mark the center on one of these, and as well, we'll mark the center on one of our poplar blanks. All right, so on the one walnut blank, we're going to start on the tires first. I have marked one corner. This will be the corner that goes against the fence and against the stop of the drill press. And we're going to mark one corner on each one of our blanks. So using a compass and our center mark as our axis, I'm going to draw a 2-inch diameter circle. You only need to do it on one because we're actually going to use this one to mark all the rest. So now with that done, and once you get your one corner marked in all your blanks, we can head over to the drill press. Well, I have my back fence set up and my stop set up so that when I place my blank with that mark denoting the back of the fence and our stop, this is going to drill right in the middle of this blank. And in this case, I have a 1/4 inch diameter bit. So what I want to do is in each one of my blanks to start with, we're going to drill a 1/4 inch through hole. Now, one of the things you want to be aware of when doing this is it doesn't take much to throw off your fence measurements. So any kind of debris or sawdust that's there, you need to get it out of the way so that it's not jamming up against your fence and causing your stock to be out further from your fence or out from your stop. So get a little brush or a little air blower, an air hose, and blow that out before drilling each hole. We now want to drill the hubs or the recesses for the hubs of each one of our wheels. Guys, don't change your fence. Don't change your stop. The only thing we're going to change is this bit. So depending on the size of your wheel, what we're going to do is half. And what I mean here is these wheels are 2 inches in diameter. So we need half of that, which is 1 inch. So we're going to install a 1-inch Forstner bit with this exact same setup. And then using our fence and our stop, we're going to drill a 1/8 diameter Forstner bit hole halfway through our blank, so 1/8 of an inch deep. And we'll do that on all 6 of our blanks. Well, our next step is to take our original blank with that 2-inch circle drawn. We're going to go over to the scroll saw and we're going to cut just outside of that line. It doesn't have to be perfect, just cut around the outside of it. Once you get that done, we're going to use that as a template. Now you can use a drill bit, or in my case, I have this small piece of brass rod, but we're going to line up our circle with the center hole using that brass rod and then trace around it on all of our blanks. Once we get that done, we can take them over to the scroll saw and cut them all out so that we have 6 in this case, just a little larger than 2-inch sort of circles. All right, so with those done, you guys have seen me do this before when making wheels, especially in model builds. I have a universal pen mandrel and I just have a bushing. It doesn't matter what kind of bushing. It's just something to get it away from the edge of the mandrel. And we're just going to place all 6 of our wheels onto our mandrel. And then once we get all 6 on, we're going to place another bushing, again, just to get it away from the knurled nut that holds it together. We're going to tighten up our shaft in here, and we're going to head over to the lathe and set this up between centers. So the very first thing we're going to do with our blanks is we're going to turn them all so they're perfectly round. And once we get that done, we're going to take them down to their final dimension of 2 inches in diameter. All right, and with those now down to their final dimension of 2 inches in diameter, what I want to do is I'm going to remove them and I'm going to reset the pen mandrel so that it only holds 1 wheel. Once you get that done, we can set it up back here again and I'll show you what to do next. Well, this is where it can become a little tricky. We need to put some treads on this wheel, but the wheel is pretty small. So what I'm going to do, there's only going to be 3 treads. I'm going to place them at 1/16 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch in, and then in the center at 1/8, and then another 1/16 in. And we are going to place those marks on here. And then using the toe of a skew chisel, we're going to add those grooves to our wheel. Just like that. Now guys, we need to do a little bit of shaping, but not too much. So what I want to do is here on this face, we're going to start on the inside and try to give it a little bit of a curve. We don't want a lot, we just want to give it a little bit of shape. You can actually define that shape by just taking a little bit of a rabbet off of this one corner, the outside corner. So if we take our little skew chisel, we can drive it in just gently. Just like that. And make that detail. Now the curve, you don't even have to use lathe chisels, guys. I would suggest sandpaper. So what we're gonna do is with 180 grit sandpaper, we're gonna try to curve this off just a little bit and curve off this inside edge in here. And when we get that done, you should have something that looks like this. So do all 5 other wheels just like this, and I'll see you when you get that done. Well, these look pretty good, but we're going to take it one step further. It really doesn't take long to get them to this state, guys. It's a pretty quick process. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on our hubs. And as you know, we drilled a 1-inch Forstner bit hole here. So we need a 1-inch hub. But just like we did with our tires, our first business here is to set up our fence, set up our stop, and drill our 1/4-inch through hole in each one of our blanks. Well, 2 of these you can put aside. 4 of them we're going to take back over to the drill press, and right in the middle with the same setup, just like we did before, only changing the bit. Leave your setup the same. We're going to drill a 1/2-inch diameter Forstner bit hole. We're going to come down, remember this is 5/16 of an inch here, so I think we're going to come down 3/16 of an inch into 4 of these pieces. You'll note that I have marked the corners here just like I did on the tires, and on the one blank over here I have marked out our 1-inch circle. We're going to do the exact same process of cutting this and then using this to mark the others. But for starters, let's get this 1/2 inch diameter, 3/16 of an inch deep Forstner bit hole drilled in each one of these 4 blanks. Well, we have all 6 of our hub blanks chucked up here on our pen mandrel. And first step, just like we did with the wheels, we're going to turn all 6 down to their final 1 inch in diameter. And once you get that done, the very first thing we're going to do for all of these, well, for starters, we're going to reduce this down to hold, you guessed it, 1 at a time. And we're going to start with all of our rear hubs. The rear hubs are the ones with the hole drilled in the middle, the Forstner bit hole. Now, guys, truth be told, I actually made that hole 9/16, not 1/2 inch like I initially said. So you could even go 5/8 if you want. I was just trying to get a bigger hub hole while still leaving some beefy outer ring, because these are toys. They're going to take some abuse. But anyway, let's get this down to holding just 1, and we're going to mount 1 of our rear hubs. So for these rear wheel hubs, all you need to do is sand them. So we want to get a rounded edge on the front here where the hole is, and as well in the middle. Now, it's a little difficult to do with this bushing in place, so we're going to do that by hand afterwards. And once you're happy with that, you can just try it out and make sure that it fits in your walnut tire. Well, the next thing we want to work on are the front hubs. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a mark from the back of our hub 1/8 of an inch in, and we can just turn our headstock and get that mark all the way around. Now, guys, this is the easy part. What I want to do is I'm going to take a small skew chisel and I'm going to carve this on an angle from the edge of our bushing here down to that line at 1/8 of an inch. And then give it a sanding, and believe it or not, this is done. And we can test it in our wheel. And that would be our front tire done. So do your other one and make it a pair. Well, I now want to assemble these. So all we're going to do is I'm going to place a little dab of glue on the recess of each one of the walnut tires. I'm going to slide that onto our pen mandrel, and then I'll slide the hub in place. Same thing then, we'll take our next one, we'll slide the wheel over top, a little dab of glue, and then our rear hub. And I'll keep going till I get them all sandwiched on there, and then tightened up the knurled nut, and we'll let those dry up. And now the last thing left to do with these wheels is to drill out your 1/4 inch center hole to 17/64. That makes it 1/64 bigger than a 1/4 inch and allows your wheels to spin freely. So the ones with the extended hubs in the middle, those are your front wheels, as I said, and these ones here are your rear wheels. Now, guys, if you don't like the way that this center hub sticks out, you can always trim that off or sand it down, or just make it from thinner stock. But essentially, we're going to place this here. I have some shop-made axle pins. We're going to use, in this case, I'm going to be using metal washers, 1/4 inch flat washers, and we are going to glue on our garbage truck here all 6 wheels into place. And in no time at all, you have your wheels mounted to your toy. And they're a far cry from the plain wooden discs that we placed on our ambulance toy. And there you have it, making wooden toy wheels. Guys, we have made plenty of wheels here on the show, all different kinds. And while some of you may not see these as being the perfect wheel for you, change it up. If you don't like what I've done here today, change it up. Maybe you could take some of the methods that I used and utilize it to incorporate it into your own tire design. But what I wanted here was a thin tire, one that wasn't too bulky, but as well one that wasn't so fragile that it was going to break if the toy should be played with on a regular basis. And we all know how children play with toys. It's a rough and tumble world. So you kind of need that little bit of extra rigidity, like on the rear rims of the tires, to give it that extra strength. Wood, after all, is a natural product. It is not meant to take massive abuse. Hit a piece of steel with an axe and your axe will bounce. Hit a piece of wood and it's going to split. That's the nature of wood, and consider your child to be the axe. So you really want to give it that extra strength to be able to handle that abuse of childlike play. Now, guys, for the ambulance tires, it's the exact same process that I've shown you here. The only difference is size. So you just reduce it to suit the model. If you have a larger toy and you have 3-inch wheels, well, just again, adjust your size. Everything that I do here on the show is changeable. It is able to be modified to suit whatever it is that you're making at your home. That's kind of how I produce the show. It is not a my way or the highway. You don't have to do it exactly like I did it. I welcome changing things. I welcome you guys taking the ideas that I present, twisting them, turning them, modifying them, and making them your own. That's what makes this my show and what makes it your project. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We have an amazing audience base, and I really hope you're going to consider becoming a part of that. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the content. I hope that you've learned something today, or maybe been able to take a few techniques away from what I've shown you. I hope that you're going to take this and modify it and make those wheels your project. And more importantly, guys, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another woodworking video.